Hi there, my name is Charlie DeShulo. Today, I had the pleasure to interview Brockton based rapper Jiles. Jiles is a talented musician who co founded the rap collective Van Buren Records, as well as created multiple mixtapes and albums himself. Enjoy the interview. So, how long have you been rapping for?
I would say, as far as taking it serious, about 2018, 2019.
Nice, nice.
Um,
Is that when you dropped your first project?
First project I dropped was F Giles. That was in 2019 of July. So yeah, I would say that's when I was taking it real seriously.
Do you produce as well, or do you just rap?
Nah, I just rap. I don't know if you're familiar with the Van Buren Records collective, but we have producers who are really hands-on with every artist in the group. So a lot of my production is through Ricky Felix, who's a producer, and Kieran Akil, who's a producer in Van Buren Records.
So, how long have you been working with Van Buren Records?
I'm one of the co-creators. So Van Buren was started in about 2013. It was me, Felix, who's also an artist in the group, Moses B. Song, who handles our creative direction and merch. It was us three. We were more of just a collective of college kids. We were just hanging out. Long story short, fast forward to like 2017, we transitioned into music instead of fashion. Then that's when Van Buren Records came into play. Then everybody slowly came in the process of that.
Did you start out in fashion, or did you start out in music at first?
So Felix and Mo were mostly into fashion. I was into clothes, but not as much as them. I was blogging around like 2016. So I was always heavy into music. Then Felix started focusing because Felix would drop a little SoundCloud song back in high school back in the day, but he started taking music seriously and he gained a big buzz locally in Brockton, and that's when he wanted to take music serious. And he stopped making clothes entirely to focus on music, and that's when I was like, he caught the music bug, and I was like, you know what, I want to rap too. If he's gonna rap, I'm gonna rap.
That makes
And
sense. How did you guys meet? Was that in school?
yeah, I met Felix in high school, sophomore year of high school. Brockton High is a big school, 4,000 students. So I had one class with him sophomore year, and I had no classes with him after that. But you'll see people through Facebook, at the YMCA. So we always kept in touch after that. But our relationship started to blossom after high school because I went to college in the city in Boston, and Felix was interning at Carmeloop at the time and Lace, and that was also in the city. So I just hit him up like, "Yo, come chill with me." Me and Mo went to the same college, so just us three, and we've been connected since.
Hey, that's awesome, man. So working in a group setting is like difficult for many. So how have you found success working in a group setting?
Absolutely. Um, Honestly, I would say the biggest thing is honesty because there's 13 people in Van Buren Records, about seven, six rappers, and about three producers. And at the end of the day, we all want to put our best foot forward. So a lot of our discussions is usually majority rules, but in some cases, if someone's passionate about something, we give everybody the floor to speak up on, vet their frustrations, and then we just all, just talk about it amongst each other, like how do you feel about this? Okay, if you feel a certain way about it, all right, let's revisit that. What can we do to manage it? And in some cases, it is what it is. To be quite frank, if majority rules. But we don't really have too much of a problem working with each other because we all got similar tastes for the most part, and we know what it takes to make good music. If that means I feel comfortable saying we've all had songs where we'd be like, you know what, we could take my verse off it. I don't have a solid verse compared to everybody else, or this song has three artists already. It doesn't need a fourth verse and stuff like that.
Can you tell me about your first major performance?
Okay, yeah, 2019 Bam Fest. Me and Luke dropped an EP called Good Evil. Uh, Luke just finished coming from the Dreamville, what do you call it when they had those sessions, the
The
Dreamville
Dream
session.
the Dream Fest?
Revenge, no, Revenge of the Dreamers.
Oh, was he
Except
on
for
that?
yeah, he's not on the album, but he was at those sessions.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was there. He played some records to some artists out there, and they were liking them. And I was on some of them. So he's like, let's just do an EP together. We did an EP together. Then we ended up doing Bands Fest, and Bands Fest was the first show I ever did, and that was interesting.
How so?
I don't really perform with much background vocals, but I literally forgot my first bar. Like my first performance, I
Yeah.
literally forgot the first bar of the song, and I was like, yeah. I picked it up right after, but it was quite humorous.
So, how did you grow from that? Do you think? Do you now
Oh,
remember your first bar?
yeah, I always remember my first bar. I think it's just once you start doing shows, you kind of now it's like you got to start taking it professionally, and we take pride in that. So we, no disrespect to any artist, obviously, but we don't perform with much background vocals outside of the hooks and a little bit of lines here and there. But so we rehearse all the time when we're gearing up for a show. We're listening to our music every day, reciting our lines. In some cases, we know each other's lines on songs. So if someone's having an off night or forget something, they won't even notice because we're right there to pick it up. Yeah, so it just it just over time we just rehearse.
Smart, smart. So, I heard that you recently performed with Cousin Stiz and Michael Christmas. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. Shoot, Christmas always been the homie. Um, Before anybody, he's probably one of the first people to reach out to us. We did a Red Bull show, and that was also in 2019. We did a Red Bull show, and Christmas was headlining it. And the people who threw the show, they asked Christmas, who else should we get on it? And he recommended us to the guy. And and that was our first ever show where we got booked and got paid for it. And we didn't have an album out. We had like maybe 2, 3 singles at
Okay.
the time. So fast forward now, we built that relationship with Christmas over time. And me and him talk all the time through text. And he had a record for me a couple of months ago. He said, yo, I want you on this. I gave him my verse. Then he hit me day of the show, because it's this show, and said, yo, we're performing this. And I said, all right. And that's how we linked up. And that same Red Bull show, ironically, in 2019, Stiz was there. He didn't perform, but he was there. And he just loved our energy from there. And he just been a big fan of us ever since. So we've always kept those connections with both artists.
So how has living in the Boston area impacted your music career?
Dope. Well, first, I would say I'd make sure I tell everybody Van Buren's from Brockton,
Brockton.
not Boston. Boston people do not like when Brockton people say that's Boston. We've been around the Boston area, obviously, because that's where the infrastructure of hip hop is as of right now. But just being around the Boston area it's been dope. Just seeing the music scene, the hip hop music scene specifically, grow and bubble from when like 2015 when Stiz dropped his debut mixtape to what it is now. A lot of growth I've seen throughout, from rappers, producers, videographers, engineers. Everybody's hands-on, everybody's friends with each other. And I think as VB, continue success in other entities like a Rebel Mafia, which is a collective in Boston, or Feed the Family from Boston. We've seen every Vintage Lee, Christmas, Cousin Stiz, all these big name artists, Bia, who's not even from Boston, the Boston area, Millie's, as all these artists develop and start to get bigger on a national level, I think it's just going to make the hip hop scene in Massachusetts grow a lot stronger.
100%, 100%. So has living in Massachusetts helped or hindered your career goals, since it is still in its infancy?
Right. No, it definitely helped. You got to start. You always got to start home. Home is important. That's where you will like to establish your fan base. So it's helped. It's never hindered us at all. I mean, in certain aspects, people expect you to take that jump to another state, i.e., New York, LA, Atlanta. But as of right now, as a collective and individually, we just been focusing on, we can make music anywhere. It doesn't really matter. So just a matter of the backing and the reach.
So have you ever toured, or have you been on a tour yet, or are you
Yeah,
planning one?
so VB Van Buren, we had a tour this past fall for our projects. We dropped Bad for Press in April of last year, and we dropped Black Wall Street in August. So we did a four city tour. We did LA, New York, DC, and back home. Um, I don't know if you went to our show. We did our last show. It was at Paradise Rock. 900 people came out. We sold it out. That was back in October. Dope. The touring experience is dope. You learn a lot. Why I read something where I was actually watching. I watched the weirdest interviews. They don't even got to be like hip hop related, but I was watching Steve O's podcast, and he had Frankie Muniz on it. I don't know why. I was a big Malcolm Middle fan. Maybe that's why I watched it. But I watched it, and Frankie Muniz was talking about touring, and he said the most eye-opening thing. He said, when you tour, it's not how much money you spend, it's how much money you save. Because touring is expensive. You know, if that means you gotta share a hotel room with a couple people, do it. You know, if that means you can't eat out every day, so be it. You know, if that means you got to wear the same clothes back-to-back tour stops, so be it. So I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. You got to save money when you're touring, because you're already spending so much money to tour as is.
100%. And there are 13 people, so you got to definitely watch the money. Yeah,
Exactly.
that makes sense. So moving off from touring and performing live, who are some of your dream collabs that you would love to work with, both rappers and producers?
Producers, I'll say Alchemist. I'm a big Alchemist fan. He's my favorite producer. I love Alchemist. Pharrell, Kanye, you know, those guys. But definitely Alchemist is number one. As far as artists, there's so many, but I'll probably say Currency. You know, Kendrick Lamar, obviously I'm a big Kendrick fan. Mozzie, artist out of Sacramento, he's pretty dope. I probably wouldn't be rapping if I never heard his music. So yeah, I'll say those are my three.
So who are your inspirations besides Mozzie, of course?
Musically, yeah. So Mozzie number one, just because of his content of music. Believe it or not, I don't really have big inspirations. Well, musicians don't really. All right, musicians do inspire me, but when it comes to just overall music, I always tell people just Mozzie, because I know he's not the biggest name, the most popular name, but before I listened to his music, before I ever discovered him, when I would rap, this was probably before I even put out music, I would just rap. Like a lot of people rap, but they're not saying anything, and that's no diss to them. Some people just don't have a unique life that catches consumers' ears. And so I would just rap to rap. Like there was no substance behind it. But when I first heard Mozzie, and he's talking about that pain, being broke, and just owning it. He don't have the money, he don't have the fast cars, but he's gonna tell you that struggle living in the hood. He's gonna tell you he didn't eat growing up. And I had similar lifestyle growing up. So I'm like, bro, I should be talking about that. Whether people think it's embarrassing or they don't want to own up to it, I wear it on my sleeve on my music. So I tell people Mozzie is the most, influential artist for me. He made me realize I do have a story to tell. And there's people who could relate to that story.
So do you prefer being honest with your music instead of talking about the flashy lifestyle?
Absolutely, because I'm not flashy. I've never been a flashy guy. I've not reached a financial status for me to talk about anything flashy. I mean, granted, God willing, I'm in a situation where I have the financial needs. I may be able to talk about that, but as of right now, I'm not gonna rap about having Lambos and all that other stuff when I do not have that.
A lot of rappers, especially like smaller ones, they do talk about having like Lambos, and then I don't know, they're eating ramen for dinner. So I'm glad that you're honest.
Right, exactly. And it's funny because I have a song on my EP that I dropped last year called Ramen. Really called Ramen. It's like, I'm a ramen baby. Like, it is what it is. And I think that's why a lot of people appreciate my music because, VB, we're diverse. So, like, there's not many, all of us really struggle living in Brockton. So we all relate to each other's music, and people can relate. I just noticed there's more broke people than rich people in this world. So that goes to show you.
100%. 100%. So moving off music really quickly for a little bit, as great as music is, we all need to have like hobbies besides just our main job. So what are some of your hobbies?
My hobbies, man, as of the past year and a half, I've been going to the gym. I lost probably 50 pounds since then.
That's
So the gym's
fantastic.
probably, yeah. Pandemic came and I was like, you know what? I used to get winded while performing. And like I said, we take performance serious as a group. So I'm like, I got to get in shape because, I got to remember my lines, but I can't be huffing and puffing during my sets. So I just been going to the gym a lot. I'm writing.
Writing
Yeah, I don't
music or
really
just in general?
music. I try to write as much as I can, but I don't really. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really have. I watch a lot of like TV, movies, and just
What
random stuff.
so by the end of 2022, what do you hope to accomplish? Do you have any like personal or professional goals?
Yeah, my goal is to finish my album before then and have it released. Individually, I'm thinking about ideally if I could finish my album by October, September. That's my goal to finish the album by then. So hopefully I have an album out and I'm able to tour this coming year. That'd be ideally. As a collective, same thing. Touring's our biggest thing right now. I think we're working on that. Honestly, I think that's in the works as far as touring again, actually, as a collective. But individually, that's my main goal right now, is to be able to release a project, which I'm currently working on, and just making sure I develop the right rollout for it. Yeah.
So since 2018, what has been the biggest challenge for you to overcome in terms of like
Mm.
music and professionally?
The biggest challenge, try not to overthink, in the sense of, okay, I dropped something, because obviously from my debut album in 2019 till now, I'm a way better artist, obviously. So since then, it's more like, just write. Don't for every. My goal is I try not to write with the idea of every line has to be the best line in the world, because that's when you get stuck on a record. You don't overthink it. If it's like, a lot of people who freestyle, it works in their favor. I don't freestyle, but a lot of people who freestyle works in their favor more than writing, because you're going off the first thing that comes to mind. And sometimes that good energy just makes it so amazing, which I'm not afforded that luxury. I write everything. So I think what I've been learning is more just, just get in a groove of thing, let it free flow, and everything will, just take care of itself at the end. That's probably the biggest thing I've learned these last 2-3 years.
Hey man, that's awesome. That's yeah, I mean that's good that you know that. A lot of people do
Yeah,
freestyle, but I mean do whatever works for you.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. I trust me, I've been in studio sessions with, big name acts, and a lot of people could get intimidated by it. Someone plays a beat and they already have a verse done in like 10, 15. But if you're confident in your own music, that shouldn't hinder you. If it takes me 30 minutes to write 16 bars, so be it. 30, 40 minutes, as long as you have a great 16, it really does not matter how you did it, as long as you have a great, product.
100%, 100%. So, what motivates you to make music?
Man, living in Brockton is that simple. I wake up every day not satisfied. It's a great, and my family, but overall, Brockton's a great city at the end of the day. But that's not my goal. My goal is not to stay here forever. And it has its pros. It definitely has its pros, but living in this type of environment can really be stressful. But I use it as motivation every day.
Yeah, you can always look on the negative side, but instead you're taking that negative and turning it into a positive.
Right,
So,
exactly. I could sit there and pout all day, but I know that motivates me. I see what we've traveled, we've been around the country, so I know what I want, and now I know how to get it.
So what do you want? So where in 5 years, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to go?
5 years, I'll be an established artist. Um, money is not. I'm not trying to be cheesy or cliche, but money doesn't really drive me. It drives me in a sense of helping my family out, but not me individually. As long like my goal is as long as I'm able to live off rap, then I'll be satisfied. Right now I still have a 9 to 5, but if rap allows me to not able to actually work a 9 to 5, then I'll be blessed for life. So 5 years from now, I'll be established musically. I would not be working a 9 to 5. I'll probably be living out of Mass. I'll always live in Mass, but I'll probably be a resident out of Mass. My family will be good. I'll be healthy. Van Buren Records will be thriving. Every artist in Van Buren Records will be doing great. Every producer will be doing great. We'll be selling a whole lot of merch. And so that's the goal for 20 in the next 5 years.
Have you always lived in Mass?
Oh yeah, born and raised in Brockton. Born and
Okay.
raised. Born and raised. But I'm
Nice.
not one of those people like I really love Massachusetts, to be honest. Like all the states I've been to, there's not many states that I think are better than Massachusetts, honestly. Like I think
Why?
I'll always have a home in Massachusetts.
Why do you love Massachusetts so much?
Maybe I'm biased because I've always been here, but
Fair.
I think it's just my type of personality. Like there's good. I mean, there's no state that I don't dislike, but like the LA's cool. I understand why people move to LA. It's a beautiful state. Beautiful weather, all that. But I'm not into all that, the fast life and stuff like that. I'm more laid back. I really like DC. That's why the Washington DC is probably my favorite like state I've been to. To be
That's fair.
honest, yeah, I love DC. DC is the place I can see myself living in. New York's cool, but too fast paced for me. Too, I don't like walking or
So
whatever.
what captivates you about DC?
The structure of it is really nice. I really like the structure. Maybe I like the East Coast, so I like year round weather, like different seasons. But my biggest thing is just it's real black. It's like I've never been in a city where it's just like so much black people. Like you just
Yeah.
look around and you're just surrounded by people who look just like you and dress like you and have the same mannerisms as you. Every time I go there, I always tell myself I could see myself like raising a family out here. Like there's a lot of middle class black folk over there too, which unfortunately Massachusetts does not have. So I think that's probably my biggest takeaway. Like the middle class, upper middle class black folk it's an abundance out there. And I really like that vibe. Their music scene is growing too, as well. It's almost similar to Mass. It's bigger than Massachusetts, their music scene, but it's in that space where, like, you have Wale, you've had Gold Link, but who's next in that hip hop scene? They have some popping DJs. They have Brent's from Baltimore, but you have that area where it's like who's next, and everybody's really there's so many artists in that area on that bubble, on that cusp. And I think that's also another thing that drew me over there.
100%. Have you collaborated with any DMV artists before?
Actually, I have not. But we got a lot of homies out there in the DMV area. Lost Kids, Brent Fires and them, they reach out. They're the homies. Every time we see them, it's all love. Trey Amani, who's part of the Lost Kids collective, he's dope. We linked up with DJ Domo. She's out of DC. She's doing amazing. I believe she's out of DC. DC and Baltimore people do not like to get mixed up, so my apologies on that. Who else? Heno's dope. He's out of DC. He's based out of LA now. Who else? 4K Michael out of DC. He's the homie. Yeah. So that's just a few.
So I just have one more question for you. Is there anything you would want the listener to know about you or about your music?
Yeah. So so much has transpired the past. Like my last project was like fall of 2020. And I've not dropped a project since. So it's been like 2 years. And that project was an EP. That was like about 5 songs. And like since then, so much has transpired. as a collective, we done toured, we dropped 2 projects. So I'm just excited to showcase where I have been individually since I dropped since I dropped that EP. Because you can listen to the group stuff, but that's not my individual project. So I think one thing I'll tell people is just with this next album, a lot of vulnerability. That's just a lot of vulnerability. I've been saying confliction, self-doubt, confidence. But my biggest thing is confliction. That like you'll understand my story much better. I look at this upcoming. I was talking to Luke Bars, who's in our group, and I was just telling them this feels like my debut project. To be honest, like the other 2 projects I did are amazing. Everybody should go back to it. But I feel like with this coming one is like my welcome party. Like this will be the best showcase of me as a human, as a person.